everybody, and welcome to our WonderWomen podcast, the main podcast for the business magazine for women.com. In our podcast, just like in our magazine, we're focused on promoting women's voices in business, technology, STEM, politics, sports, arts, and culture. My name is Monica Antohi. I'm the founder of the business magazine for women.com and today's host. Our Wonder Woman of today is Cheryl B. Engelhardt. She's a classically trained musician, a singer-songwriter, film score, and advertising jingle composer with songs in about 40 TV shows and commercial. She's also turned her attention to email marketing because somehow she's been building her massive email list and actually her career on that. She's a certified email marketing expert, and she spoke about that at her South by Southwest panel in 2018, and she's also going to have her own panel again in 2019 at South by Southwest. And on a more personal note, she's the composer and the singer of our very own Wonder Women podcast intro song called Blunt. We're very excited to have her with us today. To hear more of this song specifically and to get your own free music bundle, we invite you to go to cbemusic.com. Before I get you to today's recording, I'm going to take a minute to let you know that the summer issue of our magazine is out, and you can find it at thebusinessmagazineforwomen.com together with our previous issues. Also, we're on Patreon. If you like what you're seeing or hearing, we'd love to have you as one of our Patreon supporters. For a price of a cup of coffee or a glass of wine, basically in exchange for your support, you'll be receiving perks like getting your name mentioned in our next podcast recording or a handwritten card from us, or you'll get current issue of our magazine, which believe me is super freaking awesome, delivered directly to your inbox. We've been dubbed Forbes for Women and just made the top 10 digital business magazines for women. So we're very excited to share all of that with you. Also, today we'd like to mention and thank specifically some of our favorite supporters. We'd like to thank Adelaide Waters of wforum.org, Cahn of ifundwomen.com, and Patricia Dawson of freshLunchboxes.com. Thank you so much for your support. To join our very supportive tribe, go to Patreon, spelled patreon.com/WonderWomenPodcast. All right, that's it. Now let's get you to today's conversation.
Today, actually, we're going to talk about music and podcasting and social media and marketing and a lot of other fun things. And we're actually going to talk to Cheryl Engelhardt. She's an artist. She's a social media maven, and she's so exciting to talk with. So I can't wait to introduce you to her. So welcome, everybody, and let's welcome Cheryl Engelhardt. Hello, Cheryl.
Hi. Thanks so much for having me.
Welcome to the podcast. How's your day?
It's been a little crazy so far, and it's not even noon, so great.
All right, so let's introduce you to the audience. A lot of your fans know you, but and they're all going to have a link to the podcast, but let's introduce you to the rest of the people who don't really know you.
Rest of the people.
So besides the awesome, musician and the awesome social media maybe that you're becoming, who is Cheryl Engelhardt?
Let's see then. I'm a songwriter and composer. Most of the composing work I do is with independent films, documentaries, web content, commercials, and recently I've been working in some musical theater projects and some choral projects. I work with a choir that tours internationally. So that's sort of the composing hat. As a singer-songwriter, I've come out with 4 records, sort of piano chick pop stuff. And I did a lot of touring in my 20s for about 7 years. I was on the road with a band. We toured all over Europe and America, and I've sort of shifted that in the past 5 years or so to being more writing, still producing records and songs and things, but doing a little bit more licensing, getting those songs on TV shows. And I just love the collaboration, but I sort of hit the wall in terms of being in a van with a bunch of dudes. And I got married, and my dad passed away, and I had all these things that happened in like a 3-month period that had me be like, yeah, I'm good. I don't need to be on the road anymore. So that, so I sort of call that my songwriting artist. I do have fans on my mailing list. I still, I've been dorking out on email lists for over a decade with my fan list, but now I have a musician list as well, which I'll talk about in a second. But they're still there, and they still support when I do records, and they want to contribute, they want to be part of the process. So it's kind of cool, even though I'm not on the road, to see how an artist career can last beyond touring. And then the third hat I wear is something that sort of happened by accident. I got asked to speak at a conference, and I got asked to write this course for musicians on how to have a successful independent music career, which apparently I have. I'm still convincing myself that that's a thing, but it's day to day. Ask me on any different day, and I can tell you, yes, I'm a successor. No, what are you talking about? I'm barely getting by. But so I've created a bunch of different resources specifically around branding, communicating what you want, pitching your music, and email marketing targeted for artists and creative careers. And this is all in a side business I call In the Key of Success that I've really fallen in love with. I like email marketing. I totally dorked out on it. I got certified as an email marketing specialist through Digital Marketer. And, it's stuff that I use every day. And I'm like, why is no one in the music industry talking about this stuff? It's so important. And the label model is dying and nothing, everyone's sort of scrambling. So I'm just looking at the digital marketing world and internet marketing. And it's funny that you introduced me as a social media maven. Was that
you are? Yeah,
I'm like, what? No, but
the techniques you're using are spectacular. So we're going to talk about them because I come from marketing, and now I've been in publishing for a while, but I know what you're talking about, and like a lot of people, even in marketing, forget to use a lot of those techniques. And yes, when you're using them every day, it matters. It absolutely matters. So yes, social media maven.
So that's the nutshell of me. I am married. I live in the Hudson Valley in New York, like an hour and a half north of New York City, and I have a basset hound. And that's pretty much all you need to know.
And the fact that you're speaking at massive conferences, not just like little conferences. We're talking South by Southwest, and those are not small conferences, and those are not small impact conferences. Those are massive impact conferences. So that's kind of where we met. And, you're on a panel with three dudes, and you stood out. Like, they were great, but you were the life of the party, and not in the life of the party, the life of the panel, basically. So how can we not talk? How can I not say hello?
You're so awesome. And it's so amazing that you came to that. It was in the music industry.
I know.
So for those of you who don't know, South by Southwest is a huge conference, music festival in Austin, Texas, held every March. And they have a film portion, they have a music portion, and they have what they've been calling this interactive, which is a lot of brands, startups, marketing people, digital, online, apps, like everything that's pretty much not film and music. And I was lucky enough to be able to speak there, talking about the importance of music, original music in your brand. So for any videos you use, why it's important to have branded music the same way you would want your own logo. There's a whole bunch of psychology behind that. There's a whole bunch of like consumer psychology that it was really interesting to dig into. So that's where I did that talk a couple of years ago. And so I keep having it that you were at that one, but I forget that you were there this year when I was in the music panel. We were talking about email, and I was moderating this panel of dudes, which they were all lovely and great, but it is really nice to be South by Southwest has been really great about making sure that your panels are not
heavy
all middle-aged white men. Seriously, like pretty much now you have to have you have to have a person of color or female on your panel. It's like, it's cool, but it's also sad that there has to be a thing. And I don't think I was then it's like the other side of that coin was I just their token woman? And I'd like to think that I was able to really tie together all their points. They came from such different backgrounds of the email world. And I don't think I was, because I did know two of the three of them prior. And so I think that, just knowing that I am digging in, and not a lot of people are in terms of digging into email marketing in the music industry, I think I'd like to think that I was their go-to person, not just because I was filling out their requirements for a panel.
I don't think you were just filling out the requirements for a panel. I think that with your experience in email marketing, which we're going to get to, and your experience in music, the two kind of you were perfect for that panel from my point of view. Plus, you were bridging what they were saying and kind of delivering that to the audience, because they had a bit of a hard time. Some of them, or some points anyway, they were hard to be translated to the people in the audience, and you just kind of did that. So that was awesome. But let's go back way before that. You graduated from Cornell, and then you went into music. What happened? Like,
so music was always a hobby for me. I mean, I had learned I started playing the piano when I was 3. I was like one of those little piano prodigy kids, but it was, and then I was into theater in high school. I was the ham, I did the choir thing, like all that stuff. But then I got into Cornell, which was a reach for me. It was my reach school. And I always had posters of dolphins and whales and things on my walls, not rock stars or anything, So I loved marine biology. I was thinking of maybe going into coastal law. So I was a biology and society major was the name of my major technically, but it was a lot of bio and I didn't have to take chemistry, so whatever.
Oh, phenomenal. It's not having to take chemistry.
But being in the arts and science school at Cornell, I had to take a certain amount of electives, creative electives, so I took them all in the music department. And one day my advisor was like, if you took 2 extra courses, you would be a double major in music. And I was like, okay, overachiever, type A personality, sounds good. I was also on the crew team and in a, a cappella group, but I had time, It was fine. So I technically graduated with a double degree, but I really did focus on the science. And my music focus is music technology, and that's where I learned to film score and stuff. And my first job was scuba diving for the government, for the United States Geological Survey, doing water quality research. I was actually counting mussels for 6 months in the Delaware River.
How cool.
The water quality was going down, and mussels filter water. So if the mussel population is going down, it made sense that the water quality was going down. Blah, blah, blah. Anyway, I got bored because I get bored. That's a thing.
Well.
And the river froze. So we had this month off. And in that time, so now we're talking about November of a very long time ago. And then a friend of my mom's friend of whatever asked me to come to Rome, Italy with him to score and make some videos for this website he was developing. The website was for a hotel. The hotel was owned by the Vatican, so we got put up for a month in a monastery in the center of Rome. And I never went back. That was the start of that was the first official gig I got. And I had internships at recording studios during my summers off from Cornell, but I had just to sort of see, did I like music better? None of it was serious until I got money and flights to Italy to do this. And I was like, yeah, cool. See you, science. Bye. And I been doing I did some indie films, and then I got a job in the advertising industry working at a jingle house. And I was there for about 3 years and I made some of my records there, just stayed after hours because they were beautiful facilities. And then I ended up leaving there to go do the touring singer-songwriter thing full time. And, a couple of years later, all this stuff happened, and now I'm, doing the writing thing and have this, resource website and that I'm creating for, and so
that's a podcast and
the podcast
and speaking gigs, and
so that's how Cornell
courses.
Was amazing. I worship that school. I worship that no one, and how it's huge, but no one fell through the cracks. That someone actually said, hey, you seem interested in this, what if, and opened up some doors for me. I really did not take advantage of anything there, which is why I got super burnt out and did all the things I could do. But I think I learned the important lesson of a freelancer, which is you have to learn what not to do. I learned what homework I could get away with not doing. That was literally one of my biggest takeaways from school. It's like, what could I get by not doing? When you're someone that's like, passionate, wants to do a lot of things, wants to work with a lot of people, wants to show up for people, saying no is a hard thing. And I think I didn't do that in college, but I figured out my own way to sort of find the balance. And I look back to that experience all the time. Yeah.
You're one of the very few people that I'm okay with saying, it's okay to leave science behind. I'm usually the opposite when it comes to that. Like, if you go into science, I'm like, yes, I'm so excited for you. This is so great. Do that. This is awesome.
Yeah.
But when you find your passion, you use it, first of all, and then you found your passion. And I think that's more important in having a good life and having a good quality of life and being passionate about what you're doing every day. And yes, you did the science thing. It was fun while it lasted, but then you found your true calling and you're doing fantastic at it, and you're making an impact on not just on your people in the audience. You make an impact on other musicians, and you're making an impact in the industry. So that's more important than anything else. Plus, I mean, if you're happy when you go home at the end of the day, I think that's the most important thing, for anybody to do. So, I'm usually very much a science proponent, but
I am too. I mean, my dad's an engineer. My sister's all into like analytics and math and stuff. So there's like a thread, but I mean, I use it when I dig into the analytics. I use it when I do trial and error, and like I test everything, which is a marketing thing. But honestly, it's a science thing. It's you have one variable, and all of that stuff. And honestly, the thing I loved about the science, the biology was being outside, being in nature, like being observant of what all that was. I married a mountain guide. I live in the country now, 5 minutes from a bus to New York City, of course. But I mean, I have I have the elements that I really loved about the science part of my life. I still have them, and I live in them, and I married them, and whatever. He knows the name of every tree and whatever. So I think that's it's not totally gone. But
no, it's not gone. It's it's always going to be with you and all that. But like what I really like about what you just said is the fact that you're still using a lot of the science but you're following your passion. So let's talk about your passion. Let's talk about your music. So
okay.
Tell us, how did you end up starting to write? Because you were in jingles, right? So jingles are very short. They're like, So how did you go from writing jingles to, okay, I need to write a whole, song. This is what I want to write. This sounds good to me.
Yeah. Well, the first writing I did was piano pieces, and they were just solo piano things. And then in college, I took a poetry class, and I started writing poems, and I was like, oh, maybe they can be songs. And they were all like unicorns and butterflies and rainbows and like the cheesiest stuff I've ever. Oh my God. So I had to take a couple more poetry classes, and I realized that, poetry is different than lyrics. And so I just started trying to write a couple of things, and they're always sort of on the back burner. And I had already come out with one record of songs, and I listened to that record, and I'm like, what were you? It's not jazz, it's not pop, it's singer-songwriter, it's weird. I don't know what it.
You do have your own style.
It was a style that I hadn't figured out yet.
Yes.
And then when I got the jingle job, there's definitely like a lot more listening to songs, because clients would come in and say, we want it to sound like this Coldplay song, or we want it to sound like this Sia song, or we want it to sound, so I was doing a ton more listening. I started to get into the structure. I did some songwriting workshops. I got into this very cool month-long workshop in LA with ASCAP, and started to hone that craft a little bit more. And then my second through fourth records are definitely the second I wrote for my band to tour with, and writing a record to play live. And when we recorded it sort of very organically, like we were all together after a tour. And but then my third record was when I was thinking that touring might be starting to go away, and I wrote those songs as a couple of them were like songs I needed to write, but most of them I was writing from a place of like, what would be great on TV. So to write a song for licensing versus writing a song for tour, the production's really different. I got an orchestra to work with me. I wanted it to have that, something that someone told me a while ago, a mentor of mine, she told me that having a scoring background, like film scoring, and I studied orchestra for a little bit at Juilliard after Cornell, orchestration. So to have that background with the songwriting background, to combine them, is really appealing to TV supervisors, because they want it to feel sort of epic, but they also want it to be a cool song. So to have that crossover sound, I felt like I needed to play into that, like find my skills and play into that. So I did that on my third record. My fourth record was just, I was missing being on the road with people, so every song is a duet. So I sat down with a songwriter friend that I either had written with and loved to write with, or had wanted to write with, someone that was that I had met randomly or got put together by someone, and so they're all duets, they're all, or co-writes. Two of the songs are just me singing, but my co-writes are there. So that was really like a partnership record. So, yeah. I play with words. I get really, like my first record was 4 words. It was called Shoes Off and Run. The second one was Craving the Second. The third one was called One Up, 2 words. And then the last one was called Inevitably. So I'm like, the next one can't have a title, and I'm going down to 0.
It's going to be like, 0, basically. What are you going to do?
I don't know how to do that.
Symbol. You're going to have to do a symbol.
Oh, yeah, like an emoji. Oh, my God.
No. God, no. No.
The first person to have a record title be an emoji. Oh, my God. It's my idea, guys. Don't do it.
I don't know about emojis, but it's, you're the creative person, so you can go ahead and do whatever's like feels vibrating with you. But on the third one,
funny. Oh my God.
You're in movies. Like your music ended up being picked up by movies and shows. And how'd that happen?
Let's see. The first thing I ever got placed, I met a guy at a conference who was a radio promoter, and I was touring, so radio promotion made sense. Like, the radio station gets your the company gets your stuff to radio stations in the area where you're touring, and he was also friends with the people that did MTV Road Rules and Real World, and so I had a bunch of placements on those shows through this guy at the radio campaign. I had a publishing deal with a company in Los Angeles for a little while that I met through a friend, and they got a song on All My Children. And at that point, I think once you get the talking points, like, hey, this music is placeable, I was able to go put my music in a library that's a little bit more, the music supervisor comes to the library instead of having the music supervisor pitched. But my stuff sort of rose to the top because I had these credits already. So that helped get me on some Jane by Design. Some Major League Baseball used a song line for like a bajillion years. Just a bunch of random stuff. I have a couple different outlets, websites that my music is posted on that I pitch to regularly. And that it's a hustle. It's a hustle for sure. It would be nice to have one company doing that all the time, but everyone wants that. So.
Right, but I think you've kind of grown into doing that yourself. So you're doing the pitching yourself because through all the shows and being on all this massive social media, social channels like IMDb and all that stuff, your reach is growing and getting in front of more people, and your mailing list is growing. So let's talk about that because you've been like. Like you basically had a notepad and like taking people's email addresses at your shows. So that's how you've grown your email list. Like that's how you started growing your email list. Talk to us about that a little bit.
Yeah, that was the only way I really grew my mailing list. That was the only way I knew to grow my list because when I started touring, there weren't Facebook ads and there wasn't even Twitter. I was still on MySpace. It's how I got my first tour in Switzerland in 2007 was through MySpace. So I wasn't thinking I needed a sign up form and a widget on my website. Like those are not words in my realm. So I had a notebook and I still have a bunch of notebooks. The one I don't have was the one at the end of a 2-week tour in California. Our van got broken into and we left a suitcase in it and my keyboard and my guitar player's guitars, and because we were parked in my bass player's brother's driveway in Seattle, and we were like, oh, we're in a driveway in suburbia, like nothing's gonna happen. So all this stuff got stolen the last day of the tour, and I hadn't put in all his emails into my email platform yet, so I lost the binder of a couple hundred people that had come to all those 2 weeks worth of shows, and that like weeks I felt like so angry, violated, like I was so sad. I'm like, it was one of my first tours ever. So I learned that the night, like the first thing I do when I get home, like I am putting my emails into the, at the time it was Constant Contact, and I used MailChimp, and now I'm in Infusionsoft. But that was a big thing. So my list is mostly of people that I found at shows. I've been setting that list up to start to grow it again, but right now I'm focusing on the musician list because that grew really fast. It's like about 6 times as big as my fan list. So I'm really I'm trying to do that right and set that up so that they can just take off and go do their email thing, and I just want to be doing that the right way since I'm talking to them about email. So I want that to be the example. My fan list, I'm getting ready to do a new project, and I want to have that campaign set up soon. So I'm sort of, I can't do it all at once.
Nope.
I write songs on the fly like that. Cool.
It doesn't work like that. So you're doing 2 things right now. You're trying to, you're still creating. You're still very creative when it comes to music, but you're also trying to teach email marketing, which, you're very good at. And you're being pulled on 2 sides. Like, how do you manage that? Like, because one of them is super creative. The other one is fairly organized. Step 1, step 2, step 3. It's fairly organized. So there's a lot of creativity in building a proper newsletter and having the right words to connect with the audience and all that stuff. And it matters what you put in that newsletter tremendously. So there's a lot of creativity going into the newsletter. You can just a robot is not going to be able to. Well, not yet, but we don't know yet. In a couple of years, but hopefully not yet.
Never.
Hopefully never. Yes, but I don't know. I'm hoping for AI and the good kind of AI with with the 3 laws of robotics, and hopefully we'll have good robots. But until then, there's a lot of creativity going into building a proper letter. You know, I'm not even talking about how many times to email it and how many times to do that, but I'm talking about writing the content for the email. So which one's easier for you, to write newsletter?
I hate writing. So it's funny because I actually don't use the word newsletter anymore. I think newsletters are sort of a thing of the past. And so for me, it's pre-drafted sequences, and nurture sequences, and then like welcome sequences, and making sure that the people are set up to know what your email list is about, that they're going to get content, they're going to get blog posts. I write for my blog, Living on Gigging, regularly, and sometimes I'll take that. I've just been trying to learn to batch my process, so when I'm in writing mode, to sit down and write. When I'm in email mode, to sit down and write these emails. I actually have this one series. I'm about to launch a webinar on email marketing, which will probably be out by the time this goes, but it will be inthekey.co/email training, I think. But
we'll have the proper link by then.
Yeah, but the follow-up for that webinar, I want that to be really valuable for people. So I've been writing those, and I've just been dragging my feet writing this. I don't know why. I'm writing a musical right now, so the good thing about both of these things is that I have a tech guy working with me on the email marketing stuff, and so I have deadlines with him, and then I meet with my partner, my musical writing partner, a couple times every week, or we've got things to do. So like to have someone accountable on both sides, like I have to switch gears even if I'm feeling one or the other, which I would normally let myself. Oh, I'm feeling music-y today, I'll go sit in front of the piano, or I'm feeling like I want to do this very linear, like marketing is very linear to me, which is different than creativity, which when I write a song, there are a bajillion different things I could do with it. Do I want to go produce it? Do I want to go pitch it to someone? Do I want to go do this? Do I need to, should it be a thing? Like, there's nothing linear about it. It's just sort of picking something, and sometimes it feels like throwing spaghetti to the wall and hoping it sticks, which I'm trying to avoid, and I encourage musicians to be a little more intentional with what they want. So when I get really clear on what my goal is for this month, have 1,000 musicians sign up for this email course, or have the story completed for the musical, like those, then I'm taking actions that are in line with having that result happen by the deadline I said it should happen by. And it's way easier when I have people in partnership that hold me accountable to that. But yeah, I like to feel balanced. Like I said, I get bored really easily, and that did not stop with the scuba diving and the ship. So I need to be responsible for that and know that about myself. I definitely would break up with every boyfriend because they would bore me, so I have to keep that in check with my husband. No wonder I married a mountain guy and we're long distance. That keeps me on my toes. But just to knowing myself and knowing the things that will have me stop doing something, or stop taking action, and then just making sure I set up some structures so that I can keep taking the action. So if that means having a musical meeting every 4 days, and in between I have these email deadlines and tech stuff, and record the webinar, edit the webinar, all that stuff is it makes sense because it's very linear, right? You do this, and then you do this, and then you do this, and then you press play. You do this, and then this. So it's nice to have it change up for me. So I don't just work off a whim of on a whim, the seat of my pants, fly by the seat of my pants. One of those cliches was how I used to operate, and it definitely, I think I was seeing results, but they were taking longer than they would have if I was being really intentional with what I wanted to actually see happen.
Okay, so that's a business decision. Everything that you talked about, the last, from my last question on, you're describing your business. This is not just, hey, I'm going to do this and I'm going to do that. No, it's business, it's structure, it's meetings, it's getting stuff done. But if you have a little bit of structure, from what you're saying, you still have the opportunity to be creative at every part of those businesses. So not those specific steps that you have to take to bring your business up to up to par. So basically, you're about to set up a webinar. You've been running a really good email marketing campaign, not necessarily campaign. You've been doing really fantastic with email marketing and building a really good list, and you're about to teach that. But do you want to talk a little bit about the people that you have in your mailing list and how fast you got there, and how did you get there, and what kind of techniques you use to build your list, and how did you get there, basically?
Yeah. So I'm super transparent with my numbers. My fan list, since I stopped growing it 5 years ago when I stopped touring, is under 2,000. And I've been able to fan fund records and have people give me airline miles they weren't going to use. And, I've crowdfunded $40,000 from this small list. So you don't need to have a huge list, and that's sort of what I tell musicians. You just need to be so engaged with them and be authentically yourself that they are such a fan of not just your music or whatever it is you're selling, but of you and your career. So every once in a while I will share with my fans what I'm doing with musicians or choirs or things that are not like my piano pop stuff that I for a long time was like, they only want to hear about that. It's not true. They're there for you. So that's that list. My musician list is closer to, it's changed a lot. I said before it's about 6 times, so that means that it's around 8,000 or 9,000. The way I started that was through my blog. I had a sign-up list for a free download of something. I think it was like a checklist on pitching, and that lead magnet was pretty popular, and so just through living on gigging, I said, hey, sign up for this list, and I wouldn't do anything with that list. I sort of was just like, I have a new blog post, and that was it. And then at conferences, people were like, hey, how can I get your e-course? Because I wrote an e-course, it's an e-book that is like a 5-week jumpstart strategy to get you going. Get clear on your branding and how to pitch and sort of the overview of a lot of the stuff that I do now. So I was like, oh, I should probably like email the people on my list that I have this email course. And I honestly can't remember how people found my email course. Like I sold like hundreds of copies of it when it first came out, and I'm like, how did I do that? And I know that the thing that I did that worked was find partnerships with companies that had a similar target audience as mine. And so that list grew a lot faster when I started doing the actual like lead opt-in, like here's the free thing and then here's the paid course, and I started creating more courses. I had my courses up on like Udemy and Skillshare, platforms that host courses where thousands of people have done them, and so every once in a while said here's a free thing if you sign up for my email list. I think that helps. But the biggest jumps I always see is when I post a blog on some of the other bigger music industry blogs, the ones that get like, I get a couple thousand people a month on my blog. They get hundreds of thousands of people every month. So I've done webinars for those companies where I host the webinar myself, so I get everyone's email, but they're doing all the promotion, and they just say, you know, it's hosted or presented by whatever company, CD Baby, Disc Makers, the, you know, the distribution companies. They're not companies that are they have their own blogs, but for example, Disc Makers is a company that a lot of musicians use to actually print their CDs. So like I've been to their warehouse. That's how I get all my CDs printed. But they also have a blog. And so they want the more that their musicians can sell and the better they are at their careers, the more they're going to come back to Disc Makers. So there's this inherent win-win. So of course they want someone like me who uses them, who also is selling CDs and making it work. And, it just seemed like a no-brainer to approach these people and say, hey, like I would love to provide you with free content in exchange for getting the names of people signed up. And that, like, I would have 4,000 people on a webinar, and that was like very cool. Or 4,000 people sign up, and they're musicians, so of course they're not showing up on time. So 1,000 would show up. I'm so stereotypical when I talk about musicians. I'm like, musicians are the worst, but I'm like, that's my target audience. I shouldn't do it. But I only know that because I'm the worst, but I can say it. Listen, I get it.
Yeah, but your email tactics, the way you're doing this, it doesn't just apply to musicians. It applies to pretty much anybody that's got a product to sell. So, you can totally expand out, and you're probably about to expand out away from musicians as well, because it's not just about. I mean, yes, it's you have a product to sell, yes. Yeah. And you're going to have, another product to sell next year or a year after that. So you always have a product to sell, but everybody has a product to sell. So we're talking to entrepreneurs, we're talking to people that, I've started startups, and they need help. Everybody needs help. A lot of people need help basically for any sort of growing their email marketing, growing their email list. And to me, out of the entire plethora of options when it comes to digital marketing, email is probably one of the most direct and most emotionally connective things that you can do.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's and well, two things. One, like when I was doing getting certified as an email marketing specialist, digital marketer used the example the whole way through their certification program was selling mattresses. And I don't sell mattresses, but what I do sell is I have a digital product. It's music or it's my courses, depending on who I'm selling it to. And there are a ton of people out there with digital products or using digital means to sell their products. So if people are listening and they want to get in on the email thing, the example I use is selling music. So you can take what you want to take, but I did not say, oh, they're not talking about selling music, they're only talking about mattresses. What I had to, and that was a harder connection to make for me because it was a physical product that they were using as this example. Right. So the topic is ubiquitous for sure. And I think now to your second point is, you had a second point.
I did. Oh my God, connection. the email. It's a.
Oh, it's connect. Yeah. Oh, right. Of course. I mean, even the CEO of Facebook, Cheryl Sandberg, said that she checks email before she checks Facebook in the morning when she wakes up. It's the one place where you don't get distraction of other people's feed, ads, other tabs open. You get a lot more time. You get 3 to 4 seconds per subject line. So it doesn't sound like a ton of time, but think about how fast you scroll through things on Facebook versus someone taking 3 to 4 seconds to read your subject line and decide if they want to open your email. That's a significant more amount of time. And so that's why email is still a selling tool. 66% of people prefer to buy something through or tend to buy something through email versus just clicking somewhere on the web. So it is
very big.
It's huge. It's totally huge. It's not going away. The statistics haven't changed in years, and it's not like MySpace. And then there's the whole, I don't love this because I feel like you should use email as a backup, but like don't do what MySpace did where it like went away and then, Facebook could go away, so all your likes and contacts and everything could go away. Yes, that's super duper true, and a like on Facebook is not going to translate to someone you can market to long term. So in a way, yes, having your own email list is absolutely a safeguard against that, but I think that it's just more effective anyway. So like I don't do it because I'm worried that Facebook is going to go away or Instagram's going to go away, or, the platforms that I'm most active on. But by the way, Instagram, CBE Music, and Facebook, that's if you want to see my bath account, that's where I hang out. That's where he and I hang out. Yeah.
We'll have all of that information with the podcast, of course. And because we have to. I mean, it's like, why not promote you? And like, you're doing fantastic, and you're doing fantastic not just for yourself, you're doing fantastic for other people. So that's the whole point of all this, because you meet these amazing women, and how can we just be quiet about it? It's impossible for me to shut up, and because I think that what you guys do, every woman that I've spoken with for all the podcasts and all the interviews we've done, they're amazing at what they're doing, because they're not just doing this for themselves. They're doing this because they're trying to solve issues. They're trying to make the world a little bit better. They're trying to improve people's lives. They're trying to, they're making an impact. They're trying to make an impact. And yes, I'm going to promote the hell out of you guys with everything that I can. So, and everybody that's working with me, that's kind of what we're thinking the same. So it's, I think it's important. So talking about business, who's your biggest influence in business?
Biggest influence in business. Let's see. Well, my dad started his own business, and I always sort of just had that was the norm. Growing up, like dad going to his company and dad having more employees, and having trouble and then having successes and then having the role, like it just felt like very normal. So I think that without thinking like, oh, that's an influence, I think that was just because like a culture for me. So I think that would be the first one. In terms of this, let's see, the marketing, and there's some people that are doing a really good job that I really, I love following certain people. Like Stephanie Nikolic she was like the funnel person that I first came across when I was thinking, I didn't know what I wanted to do, but I was looking for some way to better run my courses, because I was enrolling people individually. I was doing a ton of manual work with my email list. I was like manually automating is what she and her team said to me. They're like, we've never seen someone manually automating so much stuff before. And I was, I had been looking for a career coach. I'd been looking for, all these mastermind programs that are just super expensive. And I was like, that sounds good too. But then when I talked to Stephanie and her team, it was like, you want to automate. And so the conversation of automating, of like setting things up so that they're powerful and they're your brand and everything, but then you press play and you can walk away, was so appealing to me, because essentially that was what I was trying to do, but I didn't know it was a thing that I could do. And so she really helped me get that set up. That was early last year, and that really sort of transformed how I communicate with these musicians, how I offer them the stuff that I have to offer. It's so much more organized. It's not so haphazard, and my unsubscribe rate has gone way down, and it's just been, I think it's been really good to see her just be, also she's just really authentic in who she is. So that, I learned that early on from her in the space of email. So she was one. There's a bunch of other people that I've been turned on to, like Amy Porterfield is another one in the space of marketing. And
she's been around for a while.
Drawing a blank right now. There's a bunch of people the people that I really admire and really like, I'm actually friends with, like Ari Herstand is a musician who has a blog for musicians called Ari's Take, and he just like does reviews of, here are the different website platforms you could use, Wix or Squarespace or Bandzoogle, and here's why this one sucks. And he just gets really real with you, and he does work that I don't want to do. Like, I don't want to do that research, and he does about 50 hours per article. He gets the sponsorships, and he's got all these great deals, and he's done a really good job with those partnerships. He's actually a collaborator, and he and I have a duet on my last record. But so I see him working on a bigger scale than I am in terms of that kind of advice giving, which is great. I have another friend, Peter Hollins, who's a YouTube influencer. If you've seen any YouTube video of acapella, dude with himself like 6 times or 8 times, that's him. And he works with YouTube and has developed a course on YouTube. And again, YouTube is not something I'm interested in teaching. It's something I'm just getting into. I just put my season 3 of my podcast on YouTube, made them video, because my intern insisted that I start using video more, other than the couple of videos I have. So, that's another thing. Like, people that are doing things in areas that I'm not interested in, I'm so happy to be like, okay, all you musicians, you need to go check Peter out or check out Ari, and like go get your questions answered there. And that's where I go for my stuff. The last person I would say is CEO of CD Baby, Tracy Maddox, is definitely someone who has become a friend, but he started off as someone I was pitching to, someone who saw me speak at the CD Baby does a big DIY musician conference in Nashville. And so I spoke there, and he was in the back of my keynote talk, and became a fan-ish, I guess. But we now make a point to see each other anytime we're at a thing. We ran into each other at the Grammys, which was really cool. And I think that he's a finance guy who left the finance world and got this job at a massive music company. CD Baby distributes independent artists' albums. So they distribute my albums, which means I send all the music, all the art, everything to CD Baby, and they get it up on iTunes and Spotify and Apple and like all the places, right? So that it's a huge company. They're doing a lot of work with other digital companies and licensing and getting all the money, and there's a lot of different facets to that. So to have this finance guy just come to this company and just be so open to learning, just he goes to the panels at his own music conference, just made me like really respect him from the second I met him. And just that he is so like, yes, there's something here for musicians, and he's like really on the side of musicians. He's really on the side of the people that are helping musicians. So that means me. And I was just I'm constantly learning from him, and just watching him just be lit up by the industry that he's in. And it's very lovely to see versus, there's a lot of composers and music industry jingle houses in the ad world that are just like, this industry sucks. No one's getting work. Everyone's buying canned music from shitty, cheap libraries. Oh, sorry. Can I swear on this?
Yeah, absolutely. No, totally.
There's a lot of complaining right now in the music industry and advertising industries about the state of music and the price of music and the availability of it and blah, blah, blah. So it's just very refreshing to have someone on my radar in my world that is just in awe of it and curious. And he's referred me a bunch of very cool books like
Oh, we'll talk about the books. I can't wait.
Yeah. Oh God, I'm the worst person with remembering song titles and book titles. So I'm gonna be like the one that's blue and has the white logo of the book that is sitting out of the microphone. That book, that's such a good book.
We'll get to that. We'll figure that one out. But Cheryl, I didn't know you had that many people influence you. Like, I'm sure we all do. We all do. But like when I usually ask this question, I get like one, oh, this teacher of mine that's da-da-da, or, oh, I actually had a really good boss at one point that helped me with this and this and this, and like, I don't, so like we remember like one person most of the time, right? Like, but you're remembering all these people and everything that they've done or they're doing and how they're doing, how it's influencing you. That's really awesome, actually. So,
oh, yeah, I have a 10-minute acceptance speech for my Grammy or Tony. I'm like working on paring that shit down. Yeah.
You're just going like, bing, bing.
Yeah, I'm louder than this orchestra. I am louder than this orchestra. Yeah.
All right, so how do we bring music back into schools? Because music is going away, arts are going away. How do we do that? Like, because to me, music education and art education, I come from both music education and art education, and it was tremendous to have that because you're learning another language. You learn without knowing it, you're learning another language, and you're able to express yourself through song, through music, through music is so emotive. It's all about expressing what's happening at the time. And if you go through art history or music history, you see that. You know, so we're losing that. We're losing the capacity to appreciate music. We're losing the capacity to delve into music without being laughed at. So how do we go back to being creative and musician and artist and innovative, basically, and creators?
I think that happens at the ballot.
Oh yeah, it kind of does, doesn't it?
I mean, yeah. If you want to keep that short and sweet, that's what I have to say about that.
I don't want to keep it short and sweet. This, you know, we need to talk about it because our next issue, we're going back to talking about women in politics and how important it is for us to have a bigger voice when it comes to policy making and laws that are being, you know, ratified or put through into Congress. And so I'm with you on that. But
and I think that happens on the ballot on the smaller, and like this is something that I used to not do and I've been doing more recently, is like going into town board votes and like learning who the school district, like I don't have kids. My opinion was that I don't care who the superintendent of the, like who cares? Yeah. But that is the culture, and those are the people that will get the bigger jobs later and will move up and move up and move up and make a difference. So the people that are saying, yes, the budget needs to have this, and for arts, this is how art, I mean, you go to I just musical directed Newsies Junior as a pilot program for Disney. So I was working with Disney to develop the junior version of the Broadway show Newsies, and we put on this show with these kids, and some of the kids that I teach piano lessons 1 day a week to a small handful of children that practice because I used to do it and they like me, blah, 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 and it's good, consistent income. So I told all these kids that they need to go try out, and some of these kids I was like, oh, they're going to get eaten alive. They're just, you know, they're funny, they're awkward, they're whatever, and I was like, oh, no, wait, they're going to find their home. And to see kids in musical theater, just, you know, they're getting the short end of the stick at school for however that looks like. And the kids that are finding their sexual identity, gender, all that stuff, like to watch kids just be so free, to watch girls play boys and the boys do the girls dance, like all this stuff, and just like not care and just to be so self-expressed. I'm like, this is why this needs to be in schools and not some after school program that parents have to pay for. Like, this is what is going to like have people figure out what they want and express it. Yeah. This is where self-expression happens. And I think that when people are fully self-expressed and bring in the ability to also get into someone else's shoes, I think theater teaches empathy. I think music teaches empathy. And so to be fully self-expressed and empathetic, that's where listening happens. And I think that's the big problem that we have, is someone didn't get heard. And that's why the stuff that's happening in schools, or I think that's why wars happen, honestly, is that someone doesn't feel like they're getting heard or they're going to get heard. And so it's preventative or it's retaliation or whatever. And the school shootings, I mean, look, there's so many patterns, and I could get into that for ages as well. So, I mean, just my only experience with kids in schools is working in these theater programs and musical directing and just watching them come alive when I know they wouldn't normally have. And if that's not reason to go vote for someone who believes in that as well, then I don't know what is. So I think that's going to solve a lot of problems, and problems are not going to solve because kids have more math homework. Like, I'm pretty sure that's not going to be a thing.
Math is super important, but creativity and being able to express yourself and being able to find yourself, especially at that age when everything is so confusing as it is, hormones coming in and new school and everything is just, it's chaotic. So finding an outlet that lets you find yourself and explore who you are and explore the world around you in a pretty much safe environment. It's massively important for every child to experience. So totally. Let's go to the books.
Oh my God, no, I don't know anything. Wait, Elizabeth Gilbert, Big Magic. That's the one that I've like ingrained in my head so I can put on because that book is the bomb.
All right, so that's a book. We have it. Tell us what you're working on, like all the things you're working on, and so we can have them all for everybody that wants to find you. How are they going to find you?
Gotcha. So my website is cbemusic.com, and that, ideally, a good website will lead you to all of the things you could possibly want.
Correct.
That being said, I'm CBE Music on all the social stuff except Twitter, where I'm CBE, which I thought was cool for a really long time until I realized a lot of people thought I was Chris Brown Entertainment or an airport in Kentucky whose letters are CBE, apparently a very small one. So a lot of people are like, I got my bags ready to go to CBE, and I'm like, no, you're not. So that's me. I'm most active on Instagram. That's where I'm like really authentic. I do have a Facebook page for In the Key of Success. And I have a private Facebook group if you're a musician on my mailing list that you can be in. That's In the Key of Success.
Let's talk about In the Key of Success. In the Key of Success.
In the Key of Success is the name of the musician resources and all of the stuff that I do that is not my own music composition. Okay. Songwriting, artist stuff usually falls under CBE Music, and then In the Key of Success is where my email courses go, everything like that. So, if you're interested in just sort of what my brand looks like and my theories on email and everything, I do have a free workbook, and that's inthekey.co/mastering email. And that's just a download. And yes, you will be put on that mailing list, and you'll get a follow-up about the course that I have. It's called Rock Your Email List, which is awesome. It's everything I've learned. Again, targeting musicians, but I think applicable to everybody.
Digital products, anybody with digital products. So you're talking you're talking about content creators, you're talking about, you're talking about us, basically.
Yeah.
We have a digital product. So, definitely. Sorry, go ahead.
No, that's it. And I mean, if you're interested in my music, I'm all over the place. So you can find all of that on cbemusic.com. But I'm also on Spotify, Cheryl B. Engelhardt. The B is in there. And the easy way to find that is cbemusic.co/CBE spot, I think. That's my short link for it.
That's right.
I'll have to double check that. But yeah, and again, you can find all that through my website. So.
And we'll have all that information at the bottom of the podcast. Okay, one last question, because I know I promised you an hour, so I'm going to try to keep it under an hour because it's so busy. What's a billboard message that you like? So basically you have one billboard, and where would you put it and what would you put on it?
Oh, it's so funny that you say that. One of my sayings in all of the courses I teach to musicians is don't be a billboard, because people just see it. No, I get what you're doing, and it's totally not related, but the fact that you use this word billboard, so it's like an anchor conversation here. And I literally have a whole thing based about not being a billboard, because specifically in terms of pitching, you want to ask a yes or no question, because there's a psychology behind what the person's response will be if you do ask a yes or no question, and a billboard can't do that. You see it and you drive by and you're like, that was a cool billboard, and there's no data collection. So I would say I would not want to have a billboard. I would say, can we just send it in an email? Whatever the thing is.
Who do you send this email to, and what would you put in that email? Because that's a lot more appropriate.
I agree. Oh my gosh, but I don't know. I would want a billboard.
You do both. I mean, like, whatever. Like,
what would I put on a billboard? I will answer your question. Let's see. So what would I put on a billboard? Something about, I think be clear on what you want, because if you are not clear on that, then anyone you pitch will not be clear. Anyone that you want to start following you, anyone that you email, anyone that you are trying to sell to, whatever your business is, if you are not clear on like exactly like when I say a specific like measurable result that you want, those three things usually include a number. Like I want this many people to sign up for my course by the end of this month, and there's usually a by when. And maybe it's like to win an award by this year, or to do this, but whatever it is, if you're taking actions to get that thing, even if so for me, it was like win a Grammy by 30, and 30 came and went and no Grammy, but the thing was I was living the life of someone who was up to winning a Grammy. I was writing songs, making records. I have musicians that I talk to that are like, yeah, I would love to win a country music award. And I'm like, great. How many CDs do you have? They're like, well, I haven't written any songs yet. I'm like, what?
Oh.
Like, why are you confused on what to do next? Like, it's super clear. If you want to win this, then work backwards. So if you're clear on the thing that you want, then it's going to be clear in your language. It's going to be way clear for other people. And I think that, I don't know, I'll just try this or this, that lands for people. Like, people will get that you're not clear. You haven't put in the time. It says something. It says that either you don't care enough to figure it out, or you're not sure, so why invest in you, or whatever. So clarity, if you can get clarity around who you are and what you want, I think you're going to, in more subtle ways than not, that's going to really make a difference for how people perceive you.
Cheryl, that was phenomenal advice, not just from a music standpoint, but also for a startup, for anybody in business at all. Like, because if you don't know where you're going, you're not going to get there. You need to know where you need to go so you can map out the trajectory. Like, how are you going to get there? And you're right about being dedicated and being focused on and having a direction. So the email marketing is going to say, the email that we're going to send out is going to be get clear on your message and what you want.
Yeah, totally. I'm cheating a little bit, and I didn't say this, but when I realized that a lot of musicians were asking me questions and I wanted to answer those questions about how to do this in your career, I actually went out and got 750 hours of career coaching training so that I could be more effective at answering their questions and not say, well, this worked for me, because there's 100 ways to do that. I just haven't done them all. So I have coached businesses and business owners and people that are not music related at all, but I'm pulling from that training. So, you know, you're like, oh, the music is totally applicable. I'm definitely pulling from some other career coaching training I have. And I don't have a coaching business, but that is something I do on occasion, especially if someone approaches me and I feel like I can make a difference. But
aren't we all just some of our experiences? So exactly. you can't just separate, okay, so I've done that, so I'm just going to put that on a different, we can't compartmentalize our lives. We are kind of a collection of all of that stuff. So yeah, I mean, you're supposed to be bringing all that information from other parts of your life. But I want to say a massive, huge thank you. I'm hoping you're not hearing that. I'm
not hearing anything. I'm hearing thank you.
God.
Oh, you're welcome.
I'm so grateful to have you on our podcast, and she's going to be, Cheryl's going to be with us for quite a long time. You're going to see her in our next issue. We're going to talk with her later about music. We're going to hopefully see if we can do something. We're going to hear her music on our podcast. So she's going to be, with us for a long time, and we're going to be with her for a long time. So sign up with that email list and learn as much as you can and check out her music. And, well, that kind of wraps it up for us for today. So I want to say thanks, everybody, for tuning in, and definitely thank you, Cheryl, for being so amazing and so open about your experiences and everything else. So huge thank you, and I'll see you guys next time. Bye, everybody.
Top of the world. Thank you again for tuning in today. Just to remind you, for the price of a glass of wine or a cup of tea, you can now hear your name and your company's name on our podcast. Make your way to patreon.com/WonderWomen podcast and show your support for us so that we can create more opportunities for female founders and women entrepreneurs to be seen and heard and get funded. Thanks, everybody, and remember to subscribe. See you all next time. Bye.